The Late Show studio pulsed with anticipation, the crowd's chatter a low hum under the bright stage lights. Sylvester Stallone, at 77, carried the weight of a legend as he stepped into the green room, his broad shoulders squared, his eyes focused. He was there to talk about his new documentary, a tribute to his father's journey from Italy to America, a story of grit, sacrifice, and the American dream that had shaped Stallone's own life. He clutched a small notebook filled with stories about his father, a man who'd arrived with nothing but a stubborn belief in a better future. This wasn't just a promotional stop for Stallone, it was personal, a chance to honor a legacy that meant everything to him. Across the studio, Stephen Colbert prepped in his dressing room, his usual charm masking a restless energy. The host, known for his quick wit and sharp edge, was growing bored with the predictable rhythm of celebrity interviews. His assistant handed him a list of safe questions about Stallone's documentary, but Colbert's mind was elsewhere. He'd been watching the cultural fault lines deepen, how certain stars could ignite controversy with a single misstep. Tonight, he saw a chance to push boundaries. "Let's make this interesting," he told his producer, loosening his tie with a sly grin. "I want to see what the Italian stallions really got under the hood." The producer frowned, sensing trouble. Stephen, his team was firm, focus on the family story, no politics. Colbert's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Oh, we'll talk family. But let's talk about what family means in America today." In the green room, Stallone's publicist, Maria, paced nervously, her phone buzzing with cryptic emails from the show's staff. The questions they'd sent over felt off, probing, political, far from the agreed-upon focus on the documentary. "Sly, something's not right," she said, her voice tight. "They're digging into stuff we didn't sign off on. We can still walk." Stallone looked up from his notes, his face calm but resolute. "Maria, I've faced worse than a talk show host. This is about my father. I'm not backing down." His voice carried the quiet strength of a man who'd spent decades proving himself against the odds. The stage manager called him to the set, and as Stallone stepped onto the stage, the audience roared with genuine affection. Here was Rocky, Rambo, the guy who'd inspired them to keep fighting. He waved, his half-smile warm but guarded, and settled into the guest chair. Colbert's introduction was smooth, praising Stallone's career and hyping the documentary with just the right touch of humor. The crowd laughed, clapped, ready for a feel-good chat. But as the applause faded, Colbert's demeanor shifted. His smile turned sharp, his posture predatory, like a boxer circling for the first punch. "Sylvester," Colbert began, leaning forward with exaggerated curiosity, "this documentary about your father's immigrant story, it's compelling stuff. But let's talk about how it plays today, when immigration's such a hot-button issue. Your father was a white, European immigrant. That's a different deal from what we see now, right?" The question hit like a low blow, unexpected and jarring. Stallone's eyes narrowed slightly, but he kept his cool. "Stephen, my father came from Italy with nothing. Worked backbreaking jobs, faced prejudice, but he believed in this country. That's what the film's about, hope, hard work." Colbert leaned in closer, his voice taking on a challenging edge. "Sure, but let's be honest, Sylvester. Your father had advantages, white, Christian, European. That's not the same as a family crossing the border today, is it?" The audience shifted, the air growing heavy. Stallone's jaw tightened, a flicker of the intensity that had defined his on-screen heroes. "Leaving everything behind, starting over in a strange place, that's universal. Italians weren't welcomed with open arms. My father was called names, worked 18-hour days pouring concrete. That's the story I'm telling." Colbert's smile turned almost mocking. "Come on, Sylvester. Your father's experience fits this rose-colored view of America, but it's not the full picture. Your whole brand, Rocky, Rambo, it's built on this myth of rugged individualism that ignores real systemic barriers." The crowd murmured, some nodding, others visibly uncomfortable. Maria, watching from the wings, gripped her phone, her heart sinking as the interview veered off the rails. Stallone leaned forward, his voice steady but edged with steel. Steven, I came here to talk about my father, not my movies. If you've got a problem with my career, fine. But don't twist my family's story. Colbert didn't back off. If anything, he dug in deeper, his tone dripping with condescension. I'm not twisting anything. I'm saying your father's story is inspiring, but it's also privileged. He had the right skin color, the right religion, the right timing. The studio went quiet, the accusation hanging like a storm cloud. Stallone's hands clenched the arms of his chair, his knuckles white. Privileged? My father slept on a cot in a boarding house, ate one meal a day to send money home. He was spit on, called a dago. You're telling me that's privilege? Colbert pressed on, undeterred. I'm saying he had advantages others don't. That's just history, Sylvester. Stallone's voice dropped to a dangerous growl, the kind that had silenced villains on screen. History? You're reducing my father's life to his skin color. You're wiping out everything he fought for because it doesn't fit your story. The audience was riveted, some leaning forward, others looking away, unsure how to process the escalating clash. This wasn't late-night banter, it was a fight. Colbert, sensing he was losing ground, tried to pivot. Look, I'm just saying not everyone starts on equal footing. Your father's story is great, but it's not the whole truth about immigration today. Stallone's eyes blazed, his patience fraying. You invited me here to honor my father, and now you're using him to push your politics. That's not truth, that's disrespect. The crowd stirred, a few clapping in support, their loyalty to Stallone outweighing the host's barbs. Colbert's producer was now waving frantically from the sidelines, but the host ignored him, too caught up in the moment. You're proud of your father, and you should be, Colbert said, his voice tinged with sarcasm. But this, pull yourself up, narrative, it's simplistic. It ignores how the system holds some people back. Stallone's face flushed, his voice rising. Simplistic? You think it's simplistic to believe in hard work? My father didn't wait for someone to fix his life. He built it, brick by brick, and I'm damn proud of that. The audience broke into louder applause, the sound swelling with admiration for Stallone's defiance. Colbert tried to regain control, his composure slipping. I'm not dismissing his struggle, Sylvester. I'm asking if your message is a bit out of touch. That was the breaking point. Stallone stood abruptly, his chair scraping across the floor, the sound cutting through the tense silence. Out of touch? I'm done, Steven. I came here to talk about my father's legacy, and you've turned it into a cheap political stunt. The audience gasped, the shock rippling through the room. Colbert's face froze, his usual charm evaporating. Sylvester, please, let's keep talking, he said, a note of desperation creeping in. Talking? Stallone thundered, his voice filling the studio. You don't want to talk. You want to preach. You want to tear down my father's life to fit your agenda. He turned to the audience, his presence commanding every inch of the stage. This man lied to get me here. He said we'd talk about my family, my father's sacrifices. Instead, he's using it to divide people, to push his politics. That's not what America's about. The crowd roared, some standing, their cheers a mix of support and disbelief at the unfolding drama. Colbert scrambled, his voice unsteady. Sylvester, I'm sorry if you feel ambushed. That wasn't my goal. Stallone paused at the stage's edge, turning back with a look of pure contempt. Your goal was clear, Steven. You wanted to use my father's story to make yourself look smart, to score points. But you forgot, this isn't about you. It's about the people who built this country, people like my father who worked their hands bloody and never gave up. His words landed like a final blow, the audience hanging on every syllable. With that, Stallone walked off, his footsteps echoing in the stunned silence. Colbert sat alone at his desk, his forced smile crumbling as the cameras kept rolling. Well, folks, he stammered, that was something. We'll be right back. But the audience wasn't listening. They were still reeling, some whispering in awe, others glaring at the host. Maria was already on her phone backstage, fielding calls from journalists as the moment went viral. Stallone didn't look back. He'd come to honor his father, and when that honor was challenged, he'd done what he'd always done, stood his ground, fought back, and walked away with his head high. The studio lights dimmed, but the fire of that confrontation burned on, a clash of heart and hubris that no one would soon forget.